I mean, we
Like,
can talk about, I mean, the general state of Hollywood blockbusters and their box office because, I mean, what I've been seeing, and I mean, like, I'm not gonna full on do like a full on prediction, but
mm,
I just think maybe the superhero movie is probably going the way of the Western
what do you
on
mean?
its way.
Out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back in the day, and then I think it was the 60s or 70s, Westerns were basically the amount of Westerns in Hollywood
Mm,
were how much superhero movies there are now, right?
yep.
Saturated, and people got sick of them.
Yep.
And they were looking for something new. And I'm not sure we're at there yet, but what I believe we're starting to see the early sort of signs, like with dwindling sort of box offices from, movies like The Flash, like, even Ant-Man, like all, like I would say a lot of the MCU movies have been disappointments
Yeah.
the last year or two, right?
Yep.
Box office wise. And you're seeing that with DC, massive losses with their movies, and they're going through a reset. So good luck to them. But it's just, yeah, what are we seeing in Hollywood? It's not just, I think, like, yeah, how Hollywood's been relying on a lot of old franchises to sort of get them through it.
Yep.
Indiana Jones, the latest one, like,
Didn't do good.
it's not doing that great as well. Has like a $290 million budget, and like it's done a pretty paltry weekend numbers. I think it's just, I think people are starting to sort of, and I think you've said this before ages ago, and a couple of podcasts ago, that, mate, you got to get back to the story.
Yeah.
Like a good story. Stop relying on old tropes like nostalgia and stuff.
Yeah.
Like. I think maybe people are yearning for something original. Maybe I have a feeling.
Do you think?
I mean, stuff like Top Gun, you're right, did work,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's only so long you can sort of ride nostalgia for it. And I think
Yep.
maybe we're starting to see the start of it where, mate, you got to get some new original movies out, otherwise people aren't turning up.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
like we're in an economy, right, where like people are not just going to spend money to go watch movies
No, I don't think so.
right? Everyone's like conserving their money and saving it for like the really good movies that they
Yeah.
want to watch, like the Top Guns.
Yeah.
But
Look, there's so much
yeah.
content for free out there, man.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
the
you
other
go
thing.
you go to YouTube.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
production in like, I mean, like I wouldn't want to say no to Netflix and stuff like that, but there's a lot of good free content out there. You're
100%.
fighting like with a lot of like original, ideas, and also what do we want to watch? Like how long is our attention span, right?
Well,
Like,
here's the thing, right? Like, I think I saw Andrew Schultz talk about this. Like, he thought YouTube is the biggest competitor to Netflix
yeah, I think so too.
because Netflix is pouring billions and billions into buying and developing content. How much is YouTube spending? Zero.
Yeah.
They're spending zero on that content.
Yeah.
because people are making it for them.
Yeah.
So, and like at the end of the day, like whether you're watching a YouTube video or or what, you're not watching the Netflix movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
Or
course.
the
Yeah.
Netflix TV show, you're just watching it. So it's about the attention span. You're getting a hold of that. There's so many places where that can go right now. But like, mate, YouTube is not spending anything. They're an ads company, basically, YouTube.
Yeah, I think fundamentally it's interesting, right? So you have like long form and short form, and TV and movies have been about two distinct ways of presenting a story, right?
Yeah.
So in TVs, we know that you can build characters
Yeah.
over time, and movies is a condensation of that. But usually you associate movies with your blockbusters and
Yeah.
your Pam Wow Wow. And I think again now we're at a time where content creators have so much power that they haven't had before, and people are gravitating towards the little communities that they sort of build, right?
Yeah.
And are following them through. And maybe not quite the best example, but like, Kevin Hart's movies now are not like the most amazing things that you've ever seen, but you've gone through the journey with him as an individual through his stand-up comedy time. And I think that's what content creators are kind of doing now, and they're the new like, you know what I mean? You go through adolescence, or maybe if you're a kid and you grow up with this content creator, now they're an adult, and like you still like the way that they think, and that, like, and I think that to me that's the next extension when it comes to movies and stuff like that, because to a degree the reason we keep rehashing things is, one, we've got the same writers writing. That's one element of it.
I think it's actually something different. I actually think it's the studios
Yeah.
not willing to bank on something new.
Yeah.
Like when you think of business, right?
Yeah.
You think, oh, that's worked before.
Yeah.
Let's get it back. It's, it's going to work again.
Yep.
I think that mindset has killed a lot of originality in Hollywood. And it's really just, I mean, sort of create this environment where, like, well, we want to make 1,000 of these movies, and like it's also having an effect on the VFX industry. Like, if you look at the CGI lately, I was watching Infinity War the other day, and I was like, man, look at Thanos, looks insane. I was like, what's happened in the last couple of years with VFX, and that industry has been pushed to the brink.
Yeah.
Of like, a lot of these production houses are getting strained by the amount of work, the crunch to get it done on time.
When you say strained, is it time or they have to do it with less budget?
Time, less budget as well, because what happens is, this is like some backstage movie talk, is that movie studios, they go out to these production houses, these CGI production houses, and say, these are the amount of scenes that we need done, and then this is the money we're going to give you, and like it's sort of like a tender process, right? And then like, oh, this company is doing this much. A lot of them try to undercut each other, but then what happens is they undercut each other, and then the movie studio during the process is like, oh no, we want to add all this other shit as well now. Yeah, and that wasn't previously in that brief. So all that has sort of backlogged a lot of these projects. That's why I see a lot of them get delayed as well. Because the VFX industry is on the brink of collapse, I believe. A lot of the CGI looks terrible. You see Ant-Man, you see The Flash, you see a lot of these movies, like the CGI has been looking more terrible than things that like in the mid 2010s. So I'm just like flabbergasted as what's going on. Yeah. And it's definitely that. Like the crunch, the not getting paid enough. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if those people, if they're part of a union, go on strike. Yeah. Because they're just not being treated well, and the studios don't care. They're just like, oh, we want to, this is how we want to do it. Like, we want to pay you nothing, and you have to do this in this amount of time. And yeah, I mean, like, it is having an effect, and like, a lot of this is also, we talked about the writer's strike as well. Like, they're sick of working like this on the studio. So it's a lot of the mindset of the studios. They've got to allow some originality. Again.
In your view, are movies dead? Is the movie business a dying business?
I don't believe the movie business is a dying business. I mean, like,
it's not dying; it's growing. Do you think it's growing? It's a stagnation business.
I think the last year it's definitely declined.
Yeah.
Hollywood as a whole. There's been very little big, massive blockbuster. And the one we saw was the Mario Brothers movie, which was the big blockbuster. Yeah, but like you got a lot of nostalgia there too, right? But I just feel like we're very close to a point where originality will be 100% needed to go through like this sort of phase in Hollywood. Yeah. Like we talked about the Western. I mean, at the end of the day, like the Westerns were died out because of the fact that they were the same thing over and over again. If superhero movies, if general franchises keep doing the way they're going, mate, like it's not going to be good for Hollywood. Yep. I think I even heard the other day Disney has lost 900 million over the past year.
So when they lose it, because a movie is essentially it's a business. It's a business. Making it. How can studios like continue to make such losses and go through it? Because you go in not knowing if you're going to make a profit or not. Is it effectively like venture capitalism where you know that maybe only 1 in 10 make decent money, and it's that 1 in 10 that keeps you going? Like, how does the business work?
Well, at the end of the day, they're going to have to answer to someone above them, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, say for example, something like a DC has to answer to Warner Brothers Discovery. Yeah. David Zaslav, so is the head of that. But even then, I heard they want to sell. So they're probably going to have to answer to someone above them. But it's just, what, like at the end of the day, there are these big sort of, venture capitalist firms that fund a lot of these things. And if they're seeing more losses in the superhero industry, I could definitely see them go. I could definitely see them go, mate. I don't think superhero movies are the way anymore.
Because there are two ways to make money on a movie, right? One is you exceed. Obviously, the equation is you exceed like the cost, right? Like you
Yeah.
sell out more.
Yeah.
But the other thing is like reducing the cost with a genuine like movie. What was that movie with Adam Fraser? Was it Whale?
Well, yeah, Brendan Fraser.
Brendan
Yeah.
Adam Fraser.
Yeah.
That wasn't a
No, it was
effects
just, it was
movie. It was a
literally
proper
fil-
story, right?
Well, the prosthetics would have been expensive, but like it's literally just shot in one area, one sort of area, you know,
Yeah.
one set. And this is where horror movies have been very good because they've been known to be like on a very small budget but make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they've been the darlings of Hollywood for a long time because of that, like of studios as well, where you could probably only spend like maybe 20 to 30 million and you get like a very good blockbuster, even less than that. Paranormal Activity, I think, cost $100,000 to make. This is nothing.
Right. Yeah.
And you can get like big box office returns from that type of stuff. So, I mean, it might be, and then they're going to stop giving superhero movies these $250 million bloated budgets and sort of say, okay, here's $80 million and try work something with this. And that's where the originality is going to come in, right? But I think originality and storytelling is also needed, man. Like this, how are we going to get to the point where like the youth of today create something that they feel nostalgic about, right?
Yeah,
we're all
rehashing,
riding on nostalgia from the 80s.
Yeah.
Like 80s and 90s. Like we're riding on that.
Yeah.
But when are that's what I'm thinking. What's the youth going to create now? The generation going to create now that they're going to sort of think about in 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
It won't be shit that we've sort of feel nostalgic about. So like that sort of brings a big sort of conversation into it. But
which is why I think like YouTube is where you're gonna find that. I generally do think that that's at least the next stars, or it's a fact.
Look at Logan Paul.
Yeah,
Logan Paul was a YouTuber, right? Started out.
Yeah,
and his fans were like 10, 15 years old.
Yeah, they follow you.
They followed him through the years. They saw him. They followed him to boxing. They followed him now to wrestling. Like that's probably what we see, right? You're right in the future that it's maybe movies and storytelling isn't something that is shown on a big theater in 2 hours. Maybe it's a life story of someone. Right,
yeah,
like a Logan Paul,
or maybe it is still in. I mean, there is a nostalgia about going to a theater, which will
the cinematic experience. Don't get me wrong, I love the cinematic experience, and nothing will ever stop that for me.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's been a dredge going to the movies last year.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anything outstanding. And yeah, I'm really waiting for something to wow me like a Back to the Future wowed me back then. You know, something like that. Something wonderful and magical and really just like, you know, that the production behind this is really good and the idea is unique and new. Yeah, maybe we've run out of ideas. Maybe that's where we're at. But I still think we can think of something new.
Yeah.
It's got to require a different level of thinking. And I don't know. I don't know whether the studios are ready for that at the moment. There will be once there's less money coming in, and which it is in this past year.
Yeah. I think everything, like all asset classes have readjusted in terms of like the costs and stuff like that. So why can't it happen to movies?
Yeah.
And why can't we still keep a same output or use that as a catalyst to grow? But time will tell.